Hello again, and it's time for another project. Nice, easy one today. It only measures 5 inches by 7 inches on this bit of rough fencing wood. You can see how that rough is. Now normally I would sand that down, and I'll just give it a quick sanding over with a bit of paper just to smooth it off, just so the router can run over it. As always for me, for transferring with, I literally just place some carbon paper underneath like so. Flick that over, stick it in place with some painter's tape, and literally just draw around that. It takes a matter of seconds to do. Once you've got the template sorted like so, we can use that one over and over again if we so need be. Okay, so we've got our image on the wood like so. The bits I'm going to use today, it's mainly router work, and we're going to route out all the shaded areas. And then we'll just nip it on the scroll saw or a bandsaw, even a handsaw if you would so be, and we'll just cut it out of the wood so we actually have the shape of the mask itself. Just make sure you shade in the areas that you're going to remove on this one, because you might just go away, come back and just start removing the outer areas. Well, that's the end of this project. As always, I'm going to use CNC bits. They come in different degrees, 10, 15s, 20s and 30s. I think you can even get to 60 somewhere along the line. They do have a small Dremel sized shaft on them, a 3.175mm. That will fit in a Dremel no problem if you have one of the little Dremel attachment router things. As we're going to use a 1/4 inch router, we'll need what they call a collet. That's a 6.35mm collet, and you literally just place the CNC bit into the silver end like so, just leaving a little bit out. That's the way I do it, and then we slot that into the router, so you literally have that much showing, and it clamps up nicely. Once you tighten it up, it squeezes that all together, and you shouldn't have any issues with that. And what we do, we'll set it to a depth that we're happy with, and literally go around all these lines, around the moustache, the eyes, and so on. Some of these smaller bits, like along here, we'll get away just with the CNC bit. And even down to these corners we remove with the CNC bit. Once we've gone around all the lines, we shall remove this and just pop on a end milling bit. These comes in packs of 10s. Fantastic for clearing out with. We don't want one too big today. Obviously we've got to get into these tighter areas. And that literally slots into the same adapter as your CNC bit. Push it up to that blockage there, till it clicks in more or less. Pop that in the same way, and then we'll drop it into the same depth of something that we've removed, and then we've just removed all the black. Once that's done, we'll literally just cut it out. Now normally I would cut this out first on the scroll saw, and then when you're routing out you can come right to the edge and have no issues about damaging the surrounding wood. But as we've only actually got that section from there to there that's going to be routed out, we're going to leave it to the end and cut it out once we've done all the routing. Okay, let's pop our CNC bit into the router, find a nice depth that we're happy with, and we'll start routing this one out. Right, we've made it all the way round with our CNC bits. It's only rough fencing would remember this stuff, so it may not look too fantastic as you're doing it. But once you've got a bit of sanding down, and once the paint goes on, it's just fine. I've certainly got no issues with it. Very powdery wood, that's the only thing, so make sure you blow it away. Make sure you've got your mask on and stuff. Now, we've gone around with the CNC bit, like I just say. So it's just a simple case of removing that, and we're popping one of our end milling bits. Remember, we need one that's going to fit into the bits that we've already routed out, the lines should I say, so nice and small that it will fit the full length of that one to tidy it up, and also fit into these tighter sections. So we'll pop that in the router, literally set it to the same depth as that, our little sample piece over there, or any of these that we've already removed, and then we just start removing all the shaded area. Right, you can see from that, that's all cleared out nice. Those end milling bits are fantastic for clearing out. There won't be a lot of sanding to do there. Just remember, it's just cheap, nasty fencing wood. So what you see is basically what you get. So now, next stage for me, before we do start tidying up, is literally just cut this out. I'm going to use a scroll saw today. You could use a bandsaw, even an handsaw. You can soon cut that off and shape it round with the sander. But I like the little scroll saw. So just before we get onto that, just show you the 3 basic blades, just for anybody that's new to these kind of projects and haven't used a scroll saw before. Your standard blade is what they call a pin blade. Literally, it's got a pin at both ends, and that would hook onto the cheaper scroll saws. You tighten up the tension and you're good to go. That just has the teeth at the front, like most of your blades. When you put your blade in, you want it smooth on the way down, and you want it to feel rough on the way up like that. That way you've got the blade in the right way, and you want the teeth facing you. On the more up-to-date and more expensive saws, you get what they call a pinless blade. This obviously has no pins at all. It goes in exactly the same way, smooth on the way down, rough on the way up, teeth facing forward. And they have a fancy clamping devices that you literally just twist, pop that in, twist, tighten it up, and you're good to go. On my old draper saw, I have to use what they call these adapter clamps. They're fine. Once you get used to them, you basically just tighten your blade up inside with an Allen key, and you hook that on top, hook it at the bottom, and take up your tension to get nice ping ping sound. Now the blade I like to use is a totally different blade altogether. It's what they call a spiral blade. It literally has the teeth that spiral the full length of the saw. Still smooth on the way down and rough on the way up, exactly the same. These are ideal for your bigger projects where you're not be able to turn your wood on your scroll saw because it's going to catch at the back, or it's catching on your stomach as you come round. So these are fantastic because you can literally put your wood to one side like that, pop your blade in there and just feed it from left to right, down, and that's it. Fantastic. You will either love or hate these blades. They're not for everybody. Whereas if you have a standard blade, we could put a pin one in today if we wanted to, because it's all outside cutting. You'd have to start off there and you would feed that down to cut that, and then you would have to turn this full piece to cut down there, and then turn it again to cut down, and turn it again and turn it again. And if you've got big pieces, you're not going to fit them on your saw, so just bear that in mind. So spiral blades for me. Pinless blades are ideal if you're doing a lot of inner cuts. Let's just imagine we're going to cut this one out with a saw and cut out that little nostril piece. You do a pilot hole and you would feed that blade into there, no problem. Whereas if you had a pin blade, you would struggle to get that in because the pins are in the way. So a lot of options open to you. Just find one that you're comfortable with. Okay, let's pop this Pegas number 5 spiral blade onto the scroll saw and cut this out quickly before we start sanding and tidying it up. Okay, that's it. We've cut that one out nice and simple, nothing too complicated. Hardly worth cranking the scroll saw up, but it makes it a lot easier than cutting it by hand. Now it's still rough and ready, remember, so we're going to get the sander on this. Nice belt sander just to round this off. Do away with that little lip there. And then we'll generally tidy up with sandpaper. I like to use these engraving bits on my Dremel. You can put in engravers. These are different to carvers. And if you just put one of them in the Dremel, like so, nice flat-ended one. And we'll go inside once it's on this flexi shaft of my Dremel and just go around and give it a general tidy up, bit of sanding down, and then we'll start putting some paint on. Right, that's enough for me regarding sanding down. So we'll leave it at that. We've done our sides and it's smooth enough. There is little areas here, but I'm quite liking that. That doesn't bother me whatsoever. So the next stage is to put some black paint in the routed out areas. Just a satin black, nothing too fantastic. And I'll just paint that straight in. No wood sealers, no nothing to seal it with. This wood's pretty good, the fencing wood, so hopefully we'll have no bleed on that. And then we'll give it a sanding down, and we'll see what the effect is like as regards to finishing. If it doesn't look so good with the wood, we'll just paint white over there, so we get a nice contrast with the white and the black. So I'll go and pop on this black paint now, quick sanding down, and then we'll have a look at it and see what it looks like, and see if we need to go any further, or just finish with our crystal clear spray. Okay, that's our black paint thrown on. A couple of coats of that. So we're getting somewhere near. We'll just sand over this now. Little mouse sander. And we'll see what it's left us with. Okay, that's sanded down nicely, no problem. You can see from that. Regards to bleeding, there's the odd little bit there under the eyelid and maybe a little bit at the corner of the mouth. Now, that's what they call bleeding. That's when the paint bleeds into the side walls of the routed out area. Now you can get wood sealers. I normally spray on some kind of sealant on there just to stop it doing that. But for these little scrap projects, it's not that drastic, is it really, to be honest? You've got to really look hard to see it. And I'm just being picky. Okay, we're going to go for the boiled linseed. So literally just a case of covering all the wood with this, all the front and down the sides. And once it's dried, we'll spray on our little protection that we do. And this little project would be more or less finished. So regards to boiled linseed, just a case of dabbing a bit on your brush. And we just coat it like that. It is going to go a lot darker, but we'll see what it's like once it's dried. Okay, you get the general idea from that. I'll do all the sides as well. The sides will be better. Okay, I'll come back with this all nicely dried and this project's finished. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. When I say little, 7 inches by 5 inches on your scrap fencing wood. Now I'll give it 3 or 4 coats of our crystal clear, just give it a nice shine and a little bit more protection with it going outside. And you can see from that, that's nicely coated now and it's nicely dry. And that's it, we're done. Now this to me is a Guy Fawkes mask. It's also from the movie V for Vendetta, I've been informed. And it's also the mask, the anonymous mask that your protesters like to wear. I have no connection with any protester, I can guarantee you that one. Okay, to me it's just a wooden mask and a nice simple easy project that basically anybody can do. There's not a lot of skill involved with this apart from being able to hold a router. So okay, that's it. 7" by 5" Guy Fawkes mask on scrap fencing wood. Thank you very much for watching.